Hi dear students, dear friends, welcome to Gallant IAS. This is your history optional scoring series. Okay. Now certain valuable insight I provide you to make your answer scoring. Here the question can be, to what extent inscriptions can be utilized as a valuable source of history, or how the inscriptions helpful in constructing the early history of India, or what is the validity of inscriptions as a source of history. So here some points I contribute to you, rest to you how to do yourself. Yeah, some why these inscriptions can be considered as a source of history. First point is they are contemporaneous to events they mention. Literature, the problem of literature, literary sources, it is not necessary that they were composed or compiled in the same timeline of events or in the same time of the events. There are so many examples that literature composed or literary sources, they talk about that event either before the event or after the event. Okay, so here they are contemporaneous to events. That is one advantage of these inscriptions as a source of history. They are durable. Megasthenes Indica, many of its pages, many of its chapters gone. Okay, from these broken informations we construct the history, what Megasthenes talk in his Indica. Now this is durable. Inscriptions are, yeah, royal inscriptions are there, donative inscriptions are there, land grant inscriptions are there, religious inscriptions are there. These are mostly inscribed on copper plate or on these walls or rock surface or on the solid surface. Okay, so they are durable, they are detectable in the sense that if any additions or deletions made in the inscriptions, they are very easily detectable, they can be easily identified, we can cross check their validity, or maybe an addition deletion can be cross checked. Then inscriptions are short inscriptions, they are short inscriptions, and they are reflexive of character. Reflexive in the sense that they directly reflect the life of the people they talk about, okay, or the life of the events they talk about. They are not giving a theoretical perspective. In fact, many of the literary sources give you theoretical perspective. That is also an advantage, but the problems are also there. Inscriptions, obviously conflicting claims are there. Take the example of Gurjara Pratihara, Vatsaraja versus this Rashtrakuta king. Both claim conquest of Karnataka. Okay, in Gurjara Pratihara, Vatsaraja's inscriptions, he says defeated Rashtrakutas and conquered Karnataka. Rashtrakuta says he defeated Vatsaraja and conquered this Karnataka. So conflicting claims are there which needed to be cross-checked. But there are many features of these inscriptions. Inscriptions as a source of history means different inscriptions are the land grant inscriptions, donative inscriptions, and the royal inscriptions, religious inscriptions. Now land grant inscriptions, donative inscriptions, many of them talk about agrarian relations between the state and people, settlement pattern, rural settlement, urban settlement pattern, different forms of labor, fiscal policies of the state, land measures, okay, designation of various officials. Then they talk about some religious sects which are not having literary sources. For example, Ajivika sect is there, some cult are there, Yaksha Naga cult are there. They don't have sufficient literary proofs. So we get information about such a religious sect and cult from these inscriptions. Okay, Ajivika is an offshoot of Jainism. We get idea about the socio-economic conditions of that particular time. For example, Chola ruler Rajaraja III, in his inscriptions there is a talk about this how the cultivators or how the farmers suffered of this burden of these heavy taxes, arbitrary taxes, how that burden paralyzed this farming community of that time. Okay, it talks about the women's status, it talks about these different social institutions, it talks about the historical geography. For example, informations about historical geography we collect from inscriptions. For example, Kapilavastu in UP, that Buddhist, we get an idea about that particular Kapilavastu, that is from these monastic seals. Okay, from this, from the basis of these monastic seals, we get information about the geographical identity of that particular Buddhist. Then date of sculptures and scriptures can be, that can be cross-checked with these inscriptions. Then also we get information about various performing arts. For example, in many inscriptions of Tamil Nadu, let us see that it talks about the performance of dances. Sadiratam, Dasiyatam, which later, become this Bharatanatyam. So see, we get information about performing arts. For example, this Rudyam, Rudumia Malay inscriptions, which talk about this, or which gives information about these musical notes. Okay. So see, they give you information about performing arts, they give you information about visual arts, they give you information about this date and age of these sculptures or different schools of sculptures and their patrons, and all the informations we collected from inscriptions. So rest, you find out what all the limitations of inscriptions as a source of history. Inscriptions, they come under archaeological sources. What all the limitations of these inscriptions as a source of history, which is your part, you have to fill in. Okay, that's it. All the best. Thank you.